brushing your teeth.
Yeah, I did, because I leaned over to pick up a pair of shorts off the floor, and it was,
You know what, my mom did that to pick up her keys fell on the floor.
yeah. And then
I ended up taking her to the ER. She punched a nerve or something and it was
I wonder
terrible.
if that's because this is like the second time in the week. Last week I did this. And so,
Okay, Laura, you're up.
yes, so we are going over the chin allotment, which is the findings and orders we received from the Highway PA. So in the summary, I kind of gave the history. Well,
Yeah.
David put this together, our design engineer. We've been previously working with the EPA and the Portage County Health Department on this area, so it wasn't that this was a surprise that this
Yeah.
was
Oh,
coming. So
we've
we
been
knew-
hearing about this a long time.
Yeah, so we knew that this was coming, and the orders that we got, they were dated the 7th of May. So we did contact the EPA, and CT Consultants is the design engineer that we've been working with on this project. They had a comment on one of the timelines, which is, they summarize it with the findings of what they found. And then the orders follow that, and the orders are things that we have to abide by in the time frame that they've set up. And I think that was the comment we had, was on one of the timelines for the order, and I believe that was for the construction to start. We were asking for an extension on order number 3 to 24 months for the assessment process. Because the assessment process could take some time, and that's all tied to funding sources, which we've been, kind of seeing preliminary results that we probably most likely would be qualifying for some form of a funding source on this project, just because of the low to moderate income numbers in the area would give us access to more funding availability, such as a grant, OPWC, OWDA, and even community development block grant money might be available too.
Okay.
So that's what we're working on, and we had contacted Pete Simsick of the EPA, who was the contact on this one, and he was sending us a copy of the Word document that we would be going through it and altering the orders and then sending it back to them. They seemed pretty amicable to work with us on this and getting the dates altered. They didn't seem to have a problem because they know we've already been working on it. We have a plan put together, and CT Consultants was actually working on putting a general plan back to them as well.
So Laura, once you get that plan finalized and approved
Yeah.
by the EPA, can you send us a copy of that just so we know the
The general
timeline?
plan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the timeline, so in case we start getting questions or
And
anything on it, that we have like an idea.
Yeah, and once we get the findings and orders, like a date, the formalized with the findings and orders, I believe that you guys have to all three sign the
Yeah.
actual orders. So once we get that general plan from CT Consultants back, I will send you guys a copy of that. The dates haven't really altered that much from what we originally proposed to them. It was just the construction, because once you get into the design phase, a lot happens between the design phase and when the construction starts, and the
Starts, yeah.
funding applications are tied to that, and that sometimes is out of our control. So we wanted a little bit of breathing room on that.
Okay.
But yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I had for today, so.
All right.
I'll hobble on out.
Be careful, yeah.
I
Yeah.
shouldn't be carrying around this big purse.
Oh, I know it.
Thanks, thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Laura.
You want me to call? Yeah, Randy,
Yeah,
call Randy and see if he
yeah.
can come on up. be right up.
Okay, good. Randy, is here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're a little early today, but
Yes,
I'm ready.
that's
I
fine.
was able to break away and get up to see you.
Thank you for the
ladies. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. All right, so you have my documents in front of you. I take
Yeah.
it. And what I did is I took a look at in the past, some of the previous meetings, and I looked at the documentation, and I thought there was just way too much for what I think you would like. And certainly if I'm short on anything, you tell me, and we'll work this out. I'll be happy to do that. To begin with, the office is coming back together as a result of the water damage from the burst pipe. We should be back in full, in my office operation with all the staff members by the first of next week. So things are wrapping up today down there. We're getting some of the elastic coal moldings going up. The carpets have now been cleaned.
Yeah, I saw him down there, I think yesterday,
Yeah,
or
we're-
day before.
We'll
Yeah.
get the floors in the inspector's area, offices will be waxed, because they haven't been done. And we'll be getting those folks back in probably Monday, Tuesday at the worst.
Good.
The plans examiner's area will be probably get back in there tomorrow. So we're on track.
You didn't get any of your maps damaged that you had stored that you were trying to get rid of? did
No,
you?
no. Everything is, we were fortunate, well, a lot, we did lose some drawings, but that was not a bad
Yeah.
thing. And I'll talk about that in a minute in one of my components here. So, for staff, our deputy director position is gonna be permanently filled by July 1, and the reason being is the candidate was doing part of work. He was the architect of record, and I appreciate that. He felt a little funny just jumping ship and
Oh,
and having to wrap up things for them, and then being stressed and not knowing which way to pull. So I said, I appreciate that. So we set him up to be a July 1 start, and that's all taken care of.
And I'm assuming that's 19, I think you
Oh, is it
accidentally.
8? It's 19, yeah, that's a
Okay.
typo on my part, sorry. Let's do that, cross that out.
Nope,
Anyways,
that's perfect.
and then, of course, our backup inspection staff, we have two gentlemen on team. The one gentleman did probably done 2 or 3 hours of work for us in the past year and a half. And he is a full-time at another agency. And so he's looking for his future is what he's doing. And what I mean by that is he's getting retirement age and he's thinking, what can I do when I retire to keep active? And I understand that. Yeah, raise your hand. And so he's done very little work for us, but he's available if we absolutely need him. The other gentleman, the electrical inspector, unfortunately, from the cost side of things, it was set up to do a lot of work for us when there wasn't a lot of work to be done. And that was established, unfortunately, by my predecessor. And so he was working 3 days a week, and what I found is that he really wasn't doing so many inspections as he was doing busy work. And so I put a stop to that and
Thank
said,
you.
and we're gonna, and he understood. And so he's just there for when we need a backup inspector. And so there was obviously some substantial pay that was provided there. Did he provide a service? Absolutely. It wasn't that he was sitting around, but at the same time, he wasn't doing what he was hired for. So that's now taken care of, and we're clear. Looking at the salary budget, you can see here that our salary budget of 536,000 and change was what we were set up for 18 with everybody in place. With all the revisions we've done, that now drops, and that includes all the benefits, drops to 519, so there's about a $17,000 savings there, and we're still getting the work done.
You know what, Randy, did that also include the addition of the deputy director
Yes,
position?
it does.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
everybody in place.
You know, we don't get this news from many.
I know you don't.
I was gonna
Well,
say.
if you remember from my old days, I did the same thing, so
Yeah, we're gonna
that's
sign
always
you up.
my, the good news of being, that I ran businesses for so many years is that those are critical aspects to me, if they're
Yes.
possible.
Sure.
Now, it's not to say as we look to the
That
budget, so we're not
something,
gonna make some revisions there, but we'll discuss those under separate
Sure.
discussions at that point in time, as we look to the 2020 budget, but that's where we're at today. Okay, so now on our activity reports are these two sheets that I've given you that are highlighted in yellow. And if you noticed at the top, one is labeled April 2019 and the other is April 2018. This is just a year-to-year comparison. And so what we're seeing here is, as an example, we look at the very first item under permit activity, under residential. What's the unhighlighted area, the white area, is what we've taken in the month of April, because this is how our system works. The highlighted area, yellow, is the quarter, year-to-date, so the full quarter. So for example, under the 2019 single-family homes, we issued permits for 15 homes in the month of April. Year-to-date for the quarter, we issued 33. And if you compare the two documents together, what you see is a pretty big change in revenue streams, in numbers, and a lot of that has to do with some big commercial projects. Obviously, we have Menards going in. We're working on the Myers store right now, adjacent to the Menards. We got the Children's Hospital in Franklin Township, so there's quite a bit of commercial work. We are very, very busy with commercial work, as we are with residential as well. And this represents a summary of those details.
And you know, Randy, one thing that I was noticing on the permit activity, it seems like the year to date, it seems like almost half of them in a lot of the categories came in just April.
Mm-hmm. It's
You know,
the
the weather and-
springtime.
yeah, yeah.
You certainly understand that from your
Yeah,
business.
I do.
And it's the springtime event that we normally see. And that's routine. The same if we look at contractor registration. You see that April's contractor registration is 50 versus the 274 for the year, because what happens is many of the contractors we deal with submit their documents as a matter of practice early in the year, even late, and sometimes even late in December, but definitely the month of January, we get hit hard. And that takes a lot of the office staff time, because all that has to be recorded. You know, there's a check, there's paperwork, has to be confirmed, so there's a lot of hand work there, a lot of busy people that, when that stuff hits the doors. Because I would say every one of those registrations takes one of the staff probably 15, 20 minutes of registration just to perform the tasks at hand. Okay. Lastly, or second to last, I provided you with a commercial projects submitted document. And these are all the projects that have come in this quarter that are commercial. And they're a summary of the name, the address, the township, and a brief description of the project. So, you know, for example, the first item is Camp Carl. They're putting up a new cabin for their use. But you can see in the seconds of just a fire alarm system, but that takes a master plans examiner to review. So that's time that we get paid for. And that's what pays for that plans examiner to be on staff, because for every hour he puts into a project, we get money from the applicant for that time, and we pay him. And so there is basically a cost savings, because the hour that we charge is more than what we pay him. So he's a money source,
Right.
he's a revenue stream for us to get this project done.
And Randy, speaking of charges, are you hearing any feedback? You know, he had changed
I know that.
fees, and I mean,
I haven't heard anything.
I have not got
No,
any
so
calls,
good,
so.
no news is good news, is how I look
Exactly.
at it is.
I almost hated to bring it up, but I thought, we're now getting into busy season. If we're gonna hear it, it would have been now.
I would think so, and I just think it was, you know, it's the old adage, you know, you're only gonna hear those who complain. And so when a complaint comes in, to me, that's an opportunity. When someone takes the time to complain to us about something, it's an opportunity to fix it or correct it or communicate and make the problem go away, rather than somebody saying to themselves, I don't like, and then they tell 3 other people and you don't know about it.
Right.
And I always experienced that in private business. That was a wonderful tool, something
Better
we
to
didn't
come
like.
to you.
Yeah, exactly correct.
Good.
So these are, again, at your leisure. If you have any questions about any of them, I'll always be happy to provide. If a name pops off the table, to say, I know, but, we've got things all over the place.
No, but you know what, I really like that you give us a list of this,
Yeah.
because, there's a lot of things that, we don't hear about. I
Sure.
mean, we think building department, new construction, but
Mhm.
like, I see a bunch of, like, or fire suppression systems,
Mhm.
operation. It's always nice to know.
Exactly, so whatever it generates, it has to come through us.
Mhm.
And this is all master plans exam requirements that, the two guys I have on staff are doing for us now on a
Yeah.
part-time basis. And again, we're keeping up, so to me, that's a positive. We get no more complaints.
That's positive.
And lastly, I provided you, this is a document that I gave you at one of my last meetings.
Yeah.
These were just projects that nobody knew about, that just I'll say it this way, came out of the woodwork. And they came to me by an owner, somebody calling in and saying, well, what happened? What's the status of?
Mhm.
And I would say, what are you talking about? And I had to dig through the items. And a lot of these have now been completed, as, some of them we started off with ourselves, which, the ice cream shop deck and the Garrettsville gazebo and so forth. Item 4, record retention, what I found was, and we lost some of these drawings in the flood, but more importantly, our record retention schedule stipulates very clearly that when a project is completed and the certificate of occupancy is issued, actually I think the word is final, we are to demolish, get rid of the drawings, and that's right in the record retention schedule. I don't want our office to be a repository for everybody's drawings, so we tell the architects of record, we tell the owners, we tell the owners of residential properties, somebody comes in for a deck or whatever, code requires us to have 2 sets of drawings, one for our file and one for the job site. I set up a personal policy years ago that requests 3 sets, and I tell the owner, 1 set for us, 1 set for the job site, which we know is gonna get dirty, and one's a clean set for your files. And people love that, just to hear those words. And so the same is true with commercial. It's up to the architect and the owner to retain their drawings, not us. I gotta tell you, we just through our approval process, through record retention, and the flood, which was part of it, we took 2 pickup truckloads of drawings down to recycling that were just retained there, that were just burdening
No
our
purpose.
department. There were just no need for them. Now, we do have, that I wasn't part of my purchase, we do have a big scanner to scan drawings. And the thought was, well, we could scan all those. Well, the problem is manpower to do that, time to do that. So we'll work towards reusing that item as time goes on. But it's just there, and maybe we can find use for it in other locations throughout the county as well. And that may be beneficial to other departments. So I'll put that word out to others as we go through the process.
So are you saying the ones that we lost wasn't really a loss?
No, it wasn't a loss, but it's just a matter of, these were all drawings where the projects have all been completed.
Okay,
Because
okay.
all the current projects we have up on racks.
Okay.
Yeah, these are just things
And
you have.
they were just, it was just volume. So
Okay.
I just want to make you aware of that.
And you know what, Randy, as I'm looking over this list, I wanted to tell you, I was a guest speaker at Brimfield Chamber this month, and Tom Searle is the president, which is also co-owner of the Brimfield Family Restaurant, and he had nothing but good things to say, and that he was so glad that you helped with the certificate of occupancy, and then I think they had a hood suppression system that had been going on for 3 years.
That part I'm not too familiar with the timeline. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Their big concern was they were doing Queen of Hearts drawings. And the fire department went in and said, how many people can be in the building?
Ah.
And they didn't know, because as with a lot of old buildings,
They
these
don't have
certificates.
occupancies.
Well, they did, but they disappeared somewhere, and our records, depending upon the vintage, are limited. And so what happens is there's a process within the Ohio Building Code that allows the owner to come to me, or to any building official, and say, I'd like to have a new C of O, and we can do that, providing they meet the criteria of the code. And, so those things occur. So really, the fire department was the catalyst
Was
behind
the
this, because we didn't know. And then so they worked with us, the Brimfield, the folks at the family restaurant worked with us. They were very considerate.
Mhm.
We worked with them in kind, and we got them their C of O, and they're ready to go. And now they can hold their events, but now they know their limits, and they can work with the fire department accordingly. So the only other thing that I have is I want to bring up is the two last items, 13 and 14, which are kind of critical to you be aware of. We have two court cases that I'm involved in, and I'm a witness called and subpoenaed. One is the Village of Wyndham. There's a gentleman that has a house up there that several years ago caught fire and was in very disrepair and didn't do anything, and the village is now taking him to court to get that demolished, get it demoed.
Yeah.
And so I'll be a witness in that, and when I leave this meeting at 11 a.m., the Attorney General's office is going to be in my office, the Deputy Attorney General, because they have a contractor that has hurt some residents in several areas, Summit County, our county, Kent, I believe. And so they're doing their investigation, and I'll be testifying in a case that I'll be learning about as we go through this morning. I don't have any more detail than where and when as of yet, but I want to make you aware of that. So
Okay.
that's all I have.
Great, very
Are you
good.
good or what?
Pardon?
So,
Are you good or
No,
what?
I'm-
reduced cost,
Like I said,
servicing is up.
Yes,
yeah,
thank you so
We
much.
couldn't
Okay.
ask for anything else.
Appreciate
All
it.
right, very good. And I'll just retain this sort of profile for the next meeting.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll be in good shape.
Yeah,
Very good.
and I
Keep it
appreciate
simple.
it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Have a good day.
Randy.
All right, my pleasure.
Thanks for coming up early.
Oh, my pleasure.
Wow.
Wow.
Do you want to recess, or are we ready to pass the consent agenda? We haven't added on.
Do the consent agenda. Yeah, we got one out on. Don't know if anyone had any questions on the consent agenda?
Did you have anything, Kathleen?
Give me one sec. Are these from last week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There's that. I don't think I did. I just asked Janet about oh no, I'm sorry, that's a journal entry. No, I'm all set on
Consent,
consent.
okay.
Vicki, you talked to the library.
Yes, and she's resigning from her position so she can take the position on the board.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No issue there then.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve the consent agendas.
A second?
Roll call, Julie? Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Okay, and then journal entries, did anyone? have
I had a
anything?
question and I don't know if either of you talked to Joanne about the courthouse form, what the change was, the revised on journal entry
Oh.
number 4.
Oh, this form, when people wanna use the courthouse.
I think they had like chairs and microphones and stuff like that available on the other form.
Yeah, and she
but they
also
don't do that anymore.
added down here the commissioner's policy for external organizations, that was never on the form before. She cleaned it up, is basically what she did, and removed a lot of stuff, because when people saw like microphone and chairs, they assumed that, you know, the county was gonna take care of that, and we didn't for outside, so she just removed it.
Okay. And then I talked to I didn't remember all that we discussed last week, but we talked about all of these different job description changes and
Yes.
had the drafts. I
Yes.
just needed to check that. But yeah, so I'm all set then on the journal entries.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to do the add-on. Does anyone have any questions with the journal entry to add-on? And Julie, all it does is change, is it draw number 5?
Mhm.
So it's just, okay, cause I thought we saw one in there for a
Yeah,
journal
they
entry for
previous-
draw number 4, so
Yeah.
now they just need us to approve.
Right.
Okay, so unless anyone has a question, I'll make a motion to approve the journal entry, but to add on, or for the Board of Commissioners authorizing Commissioner Klein to sign the State of Ohio Office of community development request for payment and status of funds report draw number 5 as presented by regional planning.
Second?
Roll call, Julie?
Vicky?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
And then does anyone have any questions on the other journal entries? If not, I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second that motion.
Roll call, Julie?
Vicky?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay, we will recess for public comment.
All right.
Yes.
Great.